Hi John, this is my second attempt at getting this filmed, but my selected organisation to this assignment is Boeing Aerostructures Australia, which I'll be referring to as BAA. Now BAA is a subsidiary of Boeing Australia, which is Boeing's largest footprint outside the United States, with more than 3,000 employees in 27 locations around Australia. And Boeing has 7 wholly owned Australian subsidiaries working across a wide range of aerospace, commercial, aviation, defence, logistics, training and navigation business. These include Boeing Australia Holdings Limited, Boeing Aerostructures Australia and Boeing Defence Australia out of Brisbane Airport, and Boeing Flight Services. All of these can be found on the Boeing website and the Boeing Australia website. Boeing Australia is headed by Maureen Doherty, and she's the president of Boeing Australia and South Pacific. The BAA site that I work at is at Fisherman's Bend, and it's in Victoria, and employs over 1,300 people and produces flight control services for Boeing's commercial aircraft, BCA. So we only deal in commercial aircraft down there. So the Boeing 787 Dreamliner, which is our latest plane that we're working on, we're the sole source supplier of 787 movable trailing edges, which are the flaps, the left and right hand inboard flaps, flaperons and outboard flaps and airlines. We're also the sole source of 737 airlines, so we have to keep supplying parts for older planes, the 737 airlines and the 747 movable leading edges, and the 777, the old 777 plane, very popular, the cove lip doors which fit under the wings, elevators, and also the rudder that sits on the tail. All production from the BAA is exported to the main production facility in Seattle, Washington, USA. It's sent off in these great big boxes and is loaded straight onto the plane as it arrives. BAA's macro environment includes BAA subsidiary position from the USA, and it brings many legal and regulatory requirements from our global trade controls. Because the USA has certain countries that it won't deal with, particularly in knowledge and IP, we also have those restrictions on us from a legal aspect, and we have to sign a lot of legal paperwork when you go to work for BAA to say that you will be aware of the trade implications of IP, particularly the countries that the United States doesn't deal with. BAA's unit capabilities are impacted by technological factors, and these include mechatronics. We use a lot of robots, particularly in the drilling within our carbon fibre. We make all of our stuff out of carbon, even though we're metal workers, metalworking industry that we work under the Metalworkers Union. We actually deal in carbon fibre, and we use 2 types of carbon fibre. These materials are imported from France. One is pre-preg, called pre-preg, which is impregnated with resin, and that's the old system, and that's cooked after it's been stretched out into the shapes that it's required, cooked in big autoclaves, and we can actually make parts for the bodies of aeroplanes if we need to in these big autoclaves. The more modern one, we add the resin later, and that's a little bit more expensive, but the pre-preg materials has a shelf life, and as such that can be more expensive, particularly if we let it go past its use by date. So they're the 2 different types of things. We also use, we develop our own robots. We have, whenever we want to do repairs, I've worked with some of the fellows there, when we want to do repairs, I say, oh, we'll just build a robot that will fix that, and they are quite prepared to do that. They're quite creative. Our continual global competition is Boeing, in the USA's major competitor, is Airbus, and there are others, but Airbus is the biggest one. And we get our work from Boeing in the United States, and so if Airbus is taking a fair bit of the market, then that impacts on us as part of the global economy. So Airbus focuses on the same sorts of planes as us. However, in the marketplace at the moment, Airbus and the 787 are the very like planes. Airbus are actually selling theirs for the price that we can actually make ours. So we're making a loss at the moment. So the pressure is on Boeing to actually reduce the cost of making the 787. There's huge competition around that, and that's going to be a future strategy of the organisation, to actually reduce the costs because the margins just aren't there. From a socio-cultural situation, we find that more people are travelling nowadays, and as such the growth in the air industry is being impacted by that. We have orders for the next 7 years for planes from many organisations around the world, many airlines, whether it be freight or whether it be passenger planes. But because more people are travelling, then the wide-bodied planes are the ones that are being impacted by it. So the 787 is a major one, and that can be seen in any of the materials that are produced that are coming out of Boeing at the moment. They're quite open about the fact that this is the way that they're going. They're also developing a big freighter at the moment, which is going to be very costly, and it's going to be subsidised by the other parts of the business. In particular, I believe the 777, the old plane, every third one that comes off, because we're still building them, is clear profit. So we've got the costs down on that one. Now we need to try and replicate that for the 787. So from a cost perspective, the challenges are out there, and the strategies need to be put in place to look after costs. From a political standpoint, BA is one of many offshore sites for Boeing, and the reason that they do it is they don't have all of their businesses in the USA, particularly from a political point of view. If anything happens in one particular country, another country is able to take up the cudgel and keep supplying them with parts. So it's a strategic move on their part. So while we are down here in Melbourne at BAA, and it's not ideal because that's why many of the manufacturing industries in Australia have closed down because of our situation. We are still necessary because we are reliable. The country itself, Australia, is very easy on for strife and things like that, so our political situation is quite easy, and it's good for them to have us continuing to work and produce goods for them. The cost of running the Fisherman's Bend operation is about $100 million a year, and since I've been there in February, I've seen many changes being made around the place. Investment by Boeing International is around about 70 million just on infrastructure just for this year. So I believe it's going to be an ongoing worthwhile place to be. They're around as I mentioned to you before, the way that we actually produce our materials is around the manufacturing, and manufacturing is a real issue as far as the political situation. We have organisations around us like Toyota, like General Motors, that are closing down. We see that as an area that we can actually pick up some of these employees because of their skills. So manufacturing in Australia really needs to be supported more by government, more investment, and as such we seem to be standing alone, particularly around the composite area. We're leading the Australia in using composite materials like carbon fibre. We're also one of the few manufacturers that employs many people, while other organisations around us are closing down. That brings with it some other issues, and in particular a project I'm working on at the moment. We have a strategy in place to look at how we actually use our employees. And part of our EBA, which is one of the strategic documents that I'm working on, is looking at how we can actually create a new career stream where we don't need so many tradesmen. We can reduce our costs because we won't be paying tradesmen that we don't use their skills. So that's going to be a challenge for us to get that past the unions. It's been tried a few times, but both the unions and the employees see it as necessary, but it's going to be up to the employees to actually accept that this is going to be the way of the future. So it's going to be more about mechatronics, it's going to be more about training people on the job, and so there's a strategic training plan in place. The new EBA will be out next year, and that is going to be impacted by any decision that's going to be made coming out of how we set up this new competency-based structure, using less and less tradespeople, and as such paying the high rate for tradesmen. So there are some challenges for us. I'm not sure that this is what we're after as far as the assignment is concerned, but I feel that going forward I've got plenty of stuff to talk about coming up in my ensuing assignments. So I'm going to sign off now, and thanks for listening to me.